This is Long War. I'm Rob Baer, and joining me once again are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher and Mike Haskell. What's up, guys?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
Greetings and felicitations.
So, what
We
do y'all
don't
think about AI? No, I'm just
well,
kidding.
we don't have Wyatt tonight. We suspect he took a
I
nap.
for one welcome our new AI overlords.
I will forever always be on the record as saying I'm pro robot overlord. Just in case.
100%.
I don't want there to be a paper trail leading back to me when Skynet goes online. They know they can count on me.
I'm your guy. I'm your dude.
Your dude. I've seen the movies. I'm definitely not pro John Connor camp. I don't want to be in that world.
No, F that John Connor.
Yeah, fuck him.
Oh dang,
Yeah.
this got deep. No, it's been an exciting week. I don't have a would you rather. That's not really my thing, but got plenty of other things to talk about.
Yeah, I'm chilling in my Beats lab right now. It's raining outside, storming.
It
Still?
is storming here too.
Oh wow, for
Wow.
you guys too.
Yeah. Yeah, my poor doggy was terrified. So I had to give her some doggy pot.
Yep, dogweed.
Dogweed so she would chill.
So wrap my dog in a thunder jacket
Mm-hmm.
and get eviscerated because he's like, get this fucking stupid jacket off me. We gotta fight the lightning, Dad. I'm chilling in here. We got 4 cats now. I'm chilling in the Beats lab. My lady's in the Beats lab bed playing Hello Kitty while she accidentally left a couple doors open. And now there's like 4 cats wandering the fucking streets of my Beats lab.
Yep.
So
Can't have that.
we'll see how that plays out. These 2 new cats are fucking savages.
Maybe they'll get in a fight in the middle of the show.
Probably just shoot through my computer cord. Of course, they come in
Oh,
here
there
for
you
the.
go.
I'm
Perfect.
like, okay, you guys can be in here while I'm working. And like, I look down and he's just chewing a computer cord. I'm like, bro, it's been 2 seconds, bro.
Can't be
did-
trusted.
You didn't even like work up to it. You just went straight for the power cord and started chewing on it.
No preliminaries.
You set the bar too low, bro.
Yep. Yep. We went to a PetSmart where they had like some kind of rescue operation going out of there. And he's like, I want to look at some cats. This is just a fun activity for us to do as a couple.
Yep.
Come home with 2 cats.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. As one does.
When I met her,
Not sold separately.
when I met her, there was 1 cat and now there's 4.
Are you a cat? Are the cats in the room? Can the cats hurt you?
So if Wyatt joins us tonight, he does. It's possible that he set his alarm clock and took a nap and forgot about West Coast times.
So the sleeping 3 hours over.
I'm envisioning Wyatt right now with the alarm clock just blaring and him out like a light.
or it goes off in exactly 3 hours from now.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. Classic. So
Comes the breaks.
So our show notes, which we actually put off for like 2 weeks because Space Wolf leaks hit, then we had the new chapter proof stuff hit, or the new deck leaks, was community culture, like kind of the evolution. And so
True.
anybody in chat, feel free to throw up Q&As while we go through our normal stuff. Just to give you guys an idea of some of the questions we have already for us, it's like, how's it evolved over the past decade? How is Warhammer communities unique than other tabletop RPGs? This is kind of like the direction that community culture is taking us. And so, sometimes it's cool to just have a theme to keep us on track.
On track. Otherwise, we're just going to talk about BS.
Oh yeah, we're talking about Talladega Nights, Step Brothers, old school. Because we got to keep those quotes alive.
Mm-hmm.
So, without further ado, let's move over to the Rob Baer Memorial Desk.
I'm here. I'm still here. It's not the memorial desk if I'm here.
You weren't here for a long time, multiple times. I think you acided your own.
Know.
I think you blinded yourself like twice last year.
No, that was years ago. But yes, I did do that. I also got stressed out there for a little while, so I took a couple weeks off. Well, from the show, I didn't actually stop working, but
we have a technical request for any chances of boosting the stream volume.
No, these are the normal volumes that we broadcast at.
I do not know.
Burrow Boy. So it's probably just a YouTube thing. You probably just crank it over there.
We should all be about the same levels, though, at least.
We're reasonably close. So anybody who's listening to the podcast on their way to work, you're probably always hear perfectly leveled variant of this. But when we're broadcasting, it's not always perfectly leveled. So that is possible. Let's do it.
Let's see. All right. So yeah, lots of news. So where do we start? Okay. So before we get to the preview and stuff, Games Workshop put out their preliminary like yearly results for 2024, which remember goes from the end of this May to the start of June of last year. So, we're talking Skaven Tide, we're talking what else even came out? Blood Angels. And then it was pretty dry there for a while, and then we hit the holidays, and then we hit into Eldar, Deathcore Krieg, Emperor's Children. What else came out since then? All the Chaos, etc. So basically, they're up, or they say the sales are up 560 million, which is up, I believe it was 60 million. Fact check that real quick, but I believe it was 60 million overall. So my estimates are they left approximately let's see, 560 million from 500 million pounds in 2023/2024. So they're up technically 60 million in sales. My personal estimation is they left at least double that on the table by not having enough product for everybody. At the very least, I think we can all agree on that. It's been a bit of a shit show as far as trying to source product. And I think the big exclamation point on that was this week when the chapter approved decks went on sale, and each store, no matter how many they ordered, and I know many, many, many stores here in the States ordered anywhere from 30 to 120 of these decks, and they all got 12, 13, maybe 15. I haven't heard of any retail account getting more than 15 of these decks, which is kind of ludicrous if you think about it.
Yeah,
because
it is. It is. It has been a sore point for me. I still haven't been able to get a deck of the Pariah Nexus cards.
They reprinted it once, and that was it.
Yeah, it's
And,
silly.
And I don't understand. There's roughly, we estimate 800 stores in America, and if each one got a maximum of 12 stores, we're talking 16,000, or of 12, we're talking 16,000. When I was checking the port manifest and all the stuff coming in, and you were kind of able to glean how much they were making and actually bring into the States, stuff like this, they would produce around 24,000 and bring it in. So, assuming that they didn't, they made the numbers higher because that was like roughly 5 years ago, I could see where maybe they would make the case to bring in 30,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in theory, you could kind of extrapolate, and this is all just straight tinfoil spitballing, but you could say that maybe they brought in like 30,000 of these decks, conservative estimate, right? So if each store on average got 12, and we're talking 16,000 in the States, then they sold almost double that themselves on their web store, because obviously they're out of stock everywhere already.
Right.
Which
it'd be a different story if they had the content of the cards, like say in the app, right? So that you could actually use them. But it's like, hey, we want everyone to play baseball, but we're going to sell you baseball gloves that you need to play baseball. But then we're only going to make like freaking 20 baseball gloves. So most people don't have them. So you're not playing.
And it wouldn't be so bad if they didn't go out of their way. They even went after Goonhammer, supposedly, air quotes, to take it out of their app. Like where it said, they couldn't have the specific, like,
you can say the name of the card that you drew, but not the content of the card.
Right.
Oh, I see.
So it wouldn't be so bad if they didn't, if one hand was talking to the other and like, hey, we messed up. Don't be so like crazy about this. Okay, cool. Oh, people need this to actually play. Okay, cool, we're good, we get it. But that didn't seem to be the case. Like the communication didn't go from department to department, right? So, and now we're in that situation again, right? Because at very minimum, for them to be like, oh crap, we're sold out. People actually need these. And this isn't the first time this happened. It happened with Titanicus. Yes, I get to talk about Titanicus. It happened with Titanicus because the command terminals they used to sell separately, the
Yeah,
little card
yeah.
packs. And then they realized that they didn't make enough. So whether people were 3D printing stuff and actually buying the command packs, and the people that were buying the plastic didn't get the command packs, either way, or command terminals, they didn't make enough. And people could literally not play Titanicus. So that already crippled it right off the bat, right? So then they started including them in the box set when you bought the units, which
Yeah,
was a
yeah.
great idea.
The accoutrement required to play the game should be in such excessive surplus that we should
Yes.
have all
Right.
extras in our drawers.
Right.
Should be
And,
dice. It should be tape measure. It
yep.
should be like, how many dice you got? I got a whole drawer full of those, dog. We got it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's certain things you can forget to bring with yourself to a tournament and be fine, like dice, because you can bum that off of someone. You can't be bumming the thing you need to actually play the game, bro.
Literally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they messed
And
us up last on Pariah Nexus as
yep. And Leviathan.
and Leviathan.
Yep.
Leviathan, it took longer to hit, but like I didn't realize they messed up Titanicus too. So it's not just them messing up
What
multiple
Kenny,
seasons of the game.
right.
This is
Yeah.
a trend. This is a business trend of theirs.
It gets better though. So check this out. So they realized when they realized they did this with Titanicus. So as a stopgap, because obviously reconfiguring all this and putting it in boxes and getting it out there would take time, which is going to take time to print up more of these cards and get them back out there. They literally put the command terminals out for free as a free PDF download.
Mm-hmm.
This happened. This is real because I have all the PDFs still because then I printed them out and I put them on magnetic backers so I could use little magnetic push pins
Mm-hmm.
to keep track of all the stuff. So long story short, they can literally do that for these cards. And I don't want to harp on it, and I feel like, and this is going to dovetail into their whole like half year thing here. So then we look at the next point, Space Wolf Army box, right? They actually allocated up to 30 of these things for stores that asked for more than 30. Most stores with it worth a grain of salt asked for 50 to 100 of these. So they didn't get as many as they wanted, but they still got more than all the chaos stuff, the Emperor's Children, and I think that was all the big allocation. I think Deathcore wasn't allocated. So now when you think about it, if they allocated the Chaos Battle Forces around 5 or 6, and then they allocated the Space Wolf thing to 30, they were literally forecasting 5 times as much demand for this box and still couldn't keep up with demand. I mean, does that math check out what I just said?
Yeah, I think so.
So to me, it seems like they're trying. It seems like the chaos stuff was forecasted early on, and they're like, "Oh crap, we messed up." And then when the Space Wolf stuff, they're like, "Okay, we gotta go bigger," but it still was not enough. So that kind of leads me to believe when you start looking at these numbers, when they went from 500 million to 560 million, that's a huge. I mean, that's more than a 10% jump, and in a market that's down, a more than 10% jump is highly significant, and definitely worth some accolades there. And but when you start looking at, oh crap, it seems like they tried to forecast higher, and it still wasn't enough to keep up demand, which to me kind of seems like they're just going through a demand, like high period of demand right now. And it could be because of the Space Marine 2 game, which it does seem like is the case because their licensing revenue was 31 million last year. This year it's projected to be 50 million. And just 2 years ago it was like 24 million. So it literally doubled in like 2 years. And the only thing on my radar, at least, and correct me if I'm wrong, is really the kind of the Space Marine 2 game. Like, and maybe the
Yeah.
Tacticus game seems to be doing well too, but I don't know if it's like Space Marine 2 big.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that explains away why this could have happened because like you said, they did try to project growth, but not enough.
I mean, that's what the numbers point at. And I'm not an economist. I'm not a, I just have to look at the numbers and apply what I've seen in the past and 30 years of retail experience in this market, well, 30 plus years in this market, that's what it seems like to me, and there's a lot of stores out there that are very upset with the numbers, and I'm sure there's a lot of customers that are like, I couldn't get the thing. I get it, but I honestly think they're trying.
Yeah. Well, it just means that you're just not playing this season. Like I didn't even the last season I tried to get cards. This season I didn't even bother. So
Um,
I'm just like, I'll see you at 11th later.
now the, the yeah, and I'm kind of almost that way too because the nights are coming on at the tail end, and I'm like, well, I'll have rules for like 8 months, and then okay, I mean, I'll check them out. It's whatever. So, but I do want to make this point, and I think this kind of may be a contributing factor to these issues. Is they also said they're like, hey, in recognition of our staff's contribution to these results, we will have paid during the year a profit share amounting to 20 million pounds paid on an equal basis to each member of the staff. Um,
Yeah, that's cool. That's good. I think.
and then also dividends
Right.
were paid out higher than last year too. But here's the catch. Like, so you're rewarding the staff for this great year, right? Financially. But when you assume, and Forbes estimates that they have 1,500 employees worldwide. GW hasn't said. I estimate it's double that.
It's probably double that. Because I would guess, and I'm just, this is a complete wag, but I would guess they have 500 just in the Nottingham campus.
Man. And then all the hubs and all the worldwide plus the call centers and things to trade sales, I think it's double personally. So let's just go with double as like a worst case scenario. 20 million divided by 3,000 people is everybody basically during this year got $6,000 in bonuses,
That tracks.
which is seems like a lot for the
It,
average salary of a Games Workshop employee, knowing what I know. Um, so I think if you're just like, hey, you know what? I did this much effort and I got this much money back, we're good. But I think from our side of things on the hobby as a consumer, we're kind of not good. You know what I mean? Like if there isn't an active effort on Games Workshop's part and staff and forecasting and things like that to improve, because think about it, it's not the demand is not going to go down.
no.
It's if anything, it's going to go up because we got Cavill, we got Amazon getting ready to pop off. There's expansions already announced. A new Space Marine game is already announced. Like all these things lead to increased demand.
Yeah, like Kara Quinn said, he's like, you can put a lot of decks of cards in a shipping box, bro. Like you should fire the guy who's in charge of projections, because it's
Well,
like,
or just change your model, right? It's like with
Sure.
somebody just brought up like a Black Library novels. I literally cannot fathom why those are not print on demand. It makes no sense to me. Like if somebody wants to buy your novel and give you money, they should be able to.
hmm?
Like, and I understand, like with the
Hmm.
special editions, those are like kind of collectibles, right? So you want those to be limited and a little bit harder to get. But any of these older novels that are out of print and they're selling for $400 or $500 for a paperback on eBay, those should be print on demand. Like, oh, you want these? Okay, order it. Like, that's it.
Yeah, facts. I mean, it goes all the way back to the app argument we've had since day one, right? Like we used to be able to buy these rules PDFs and shit on demand, and then some one day GW in a baffling, unknowable decision was like, nah, you can't just buy rules a la carte. You gotta buy codexes, and then you can use those codes to unlock in the app. And the app is great, but
Mm-hmm.
like, why can't I just go into the app and buy the fucking rules? That feels like that's infinite money glitch. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But it's so there's a publishing mechanic. GW is their own publisher, right?
Yep.
And they like to completely control that method. And so I think some of it makes sense. You know, I'm not saying it's utterly baffling. Like I can understand some of this, you know, some of this control of your own IP, but also,
Mhm.
you know, and also like as Rob mentioned, their licensing department growth is off the fucking hizzy, right? Like, so that's new. Let's not forget
Well,
that.
that's the true. Honestly, that's the true value of 40k is the IP.
It's the IP. And they're finally leveraging it, and they didn't for like 20 fucking years, dude.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They were super playing that close to the chest, man. They did not mess around. And so realistically, their focus has shifted. Resources have shifted. It's, you know, and we're following
Mhm.
like us, the tabletop gaming guys who love the tabletop gaming, it kind of feels like we're the ones who are paying for that. And not saying it's
I get it.
I get it.
They don't want a dumpster. They want to have a dumpster war situation again,
Yep.
which is understandable.
Yep.
But
Dumpster
I'm like,
wars happened and it was real, and they don't want that again.
and I get it. And if they did do that, I would call them out on that too. But I feel like there's a happy medium here where most businesses exist that people can just get the bare necessities to play their games, and that's kind of not what's happening here. Like we've gone from a state of FOMO to a state of this is unacceptable.
Well, the FOMO's gone full circle, right? They worked FOMO so well for so many years as a business model
Mhm.
that now the FOMO's gone all the way to, well, why not even try getting it because I can't.
Yep.
You know, so
Which
it's
is-
it's lapped itself, and so that's the worst.
Yeah.
I would agree with that, but I would also caveat that we're all old. We are not the target
It's
audience.
fair.
Um,
We might be 10 years too old
They-
for at
yeah,
least.
they don't care about us. Like
Yeah.
they don't care about us or our dollars. Because like for me, it's a sore point for me because they've invalidated 80% of my armies. That I spent decades painting and playing and all this stuff, and now they're just worthless. Um, but that's not who they're targeting to play the game. Like I'm considered a veteran. They already got my money
Mhm.
decades ago.
They
You see
milked
what
you
I
dry,
mean?
baby. Like it's already.
Yeah, it's a done deal. So it's like, and so they don't really care if I say, well, I'm not buying the new Grey Knight stuff because you guys screwed us, right? They don't care. They're just like, yeah, that's great.
But
Do
there's
you
this
still
new
have your old
guy.
Grey Knights? And I'm like, I do. And they go, well, we already got your money.
Mhm.
We got your money decades ago. We don't care.
Which is sad.
So I think that caveat has to be over everything that we're saying because we're we're the older crowd. We're not in the demo, quote unquote, right?
Yeah, but as Kara
So
Quinn says, even these new players can't get what they want or even buy the novels because they're not
and
putting
that's
them
why
out.
I
Yeah.
think the cards are a problem, right?
Yeah, back
Because
to the
some
cards.
of the novels that are out of print, maybe you don't want people reading them, right? Because you're trying to reshape what 40k is. So you don't want people reading novels from 20 years ago or, like famously, I think there was the first Space Marine novel. There was a Space Marine guy named Sam or something like that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It was very vanilla. So they don't want folks reading the old stuff. They want folks reading the new stuff that they can shape, that they are reshaping for.
Which I get.
Yeah.
That's common. I mean,
Yeah.
even my Berserk, one of my favorite animes and mangas of all time, like uh, Ken Taro said that like he wished that he could go back and rewrite the first panels of the first book because he didn't exactly know where the character was going, and it just kind of the Black Swordsman arc makes him feel like an edge lord because it was kind of
Right.
edge lordy, and he's like kind of had to write that around that. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah. Because I mean, it's like we know the Necrons came out of the Terminator, right? But it's like the Necrons have changed so much
Yeah.
for the better. I would say their
Oh,
lore
for
is
sure.
so much richer and everything like that. That it's not just hey they're the undead army and we're gonna literally base them off the T800. You know, it's like they're way more complex now and everything like that. So they're like, if people could just forget that old stuff and not read it anymore, not know that lore.
Yeah, some of this is understand more. It's not quite as baffling as
Yeah, but
we.
the cards, like you genuinely,
Yeah.
that's not an aid, right?
No, it's a
It's
requirement.
not like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
They're
you
not in the
can still
book.
play
They're
the
not
game.
like
Yeah,
anywhere for us to print. They literally again like the obvious solution, because like if we're gonna call you out on something, we should also present solutions. The obvious solution is just stop
sure,
trying to make money on cards. Just stop. Like
right.
stop
Yeah.
trying to make money on cards
Or
and
have the content be in the rule book.
yeah.
And it's
Well,
like
since
the cards.
they need to change the cards because of seasons, so just
Oh yeah, that's a good
adopt the
point.
industry standard model of that shit is free. Because I already bought the
Yep.
rules, I already bought the models.
But you
Let
know, I'd still buy the cards. That's the thing, is if they put out a PDF that was print on to like print to play
yeah.
or whatever,
And so the
print and
cards
play,
that we have on the
I'd be
market
like,
are fine if I can't get them because I don't need them. I'll
right, I could still play.
let all the collectors buy the cards, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
I
shit,
still would buy the cards because I
yeah.
don't want to roll up to the table with my PDF,
Mhm,
my 12-page PDF that's stapled together like a hobo.
mhm.
I want my sweet cards, right?
Yeah, I want my
So
sick
I would
ones.
still buy the
But
cards.
yeah, I think there's definitely room for improvement for sure, and I think they're trying. But I think scaling is an issue that kills a lot of businesses, and I feel like they're in a place of scaling right now. Whether they realize it or not, hopefully they realize it, and hopefully they fix it because it's a little rough right now. And I think it could be very easy for a lot of folks to, as Haspel said, to just be like, you know what, I'm just going to wait for 11th and just let it ride. And but honestly, I think there's enough new people coming in that they wouldn't care.
Mm.
So it's
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
you got to vote with your hobby dollars. There's plenty of other games out there. I did want to mention too that MCP and Marvel Crisis Protocol just put out free updates. I printed them all. Like I got all my new character cards right here, and you just put them in postcard size sleeves, 4x6.
You mean not
You
in
got
the aforementioned sleeve of PDFs as a hobo would?
no, no, no.
You don't just roll
They
up to the table with your 12 pieces of paper stapled together from Staples?
no, no. You actually have game aids for these that are great, and then the Shatterpoint cards are all done. You just pop them together, and they all go in 4x6 sleeves, and you're good to go. They talked about a lot like why they did the updates, and I think they were all very well done. To be honest with you, now I don't. Uh, yeah, AMG Atomic Mass Games that puts out Shatterpoint, Legion, and Marvel Crisis Protocol. They are a studio. They are distributed by Asmodee, um, which is a completely different dynamic. And a lot of stores don't like dealing with Asmodee because they're very hard to deal with. Their margins are poop. Their minimum orders are poop. And they frequently put stuff up super discounted on Amazon, and they do not allow um, retail accounts to compete with them on Amazon. So there's issues across the
Yeah.
board with every game system and every company. But at the end of the day, you just kind of gotta go with what makes you happy as a player, and can kind of crack out on and
Yeah.
have fun with. All right, so there's lots to talk about. We spent a little bit too much time on that, but let's try to get through it here. So Monument Hobbies put out their new expert artist acrylics, and I'm sure Kenny can talk a lot about that. They're $7 a tube. Kenny, what makes them so good?
I'm honestly not that sure.
Good answer.
I mean, they're good. So like what they are is they're paint, acrylic art paint, and they the promise is that they're smoother and of a creamier body than a traditional like tube art paint would be. So that is something that is good for painting miniatures. So realistically, they're coming out hella pigmented, thicker,
Hmm.
still creamy, with the idea of like, if you were a canvas painter, you would have like a jar of medium and you would manipulate on your palette the density of the tube paint to what you're trying to accomplish. It wouldn't have just been done for you, right? And so when you think of the paint that we mostly use as miniature painters, That's not coming from the art side of things, right? It's coming from the technical application of paint to miniature, which is different than traditional art. So we kind of want it already done for us, right? Which is because if you think of like a major complaint that a lot of beginner painters have is like they don't know what to do, how to cut the paint, like how much water to use, like how thick should the paint be, how watered down should it be. Like these are constantly things that people are nervous about, and also a big apprehension that most painters have in the beginning is blending colors, blending paints together, right? So they, in addition to them wanting it as close to paint ready out of the tube, they want to just raw dog paint out of the pot as close to that as possible. They also don't want to mix paint. They want like a triad to be presented to them of blues to paint their ultramarines. They don't want to go out there and have to do blending guesswork, right? These are not things that standard miniature painters find valuable. But it's like artists, like myself, I love things that let me do all the work, right? Let me, let me
right.
autistically paint my fucking shit. You know
Did
what
you
I mean?
say autistic or artistic?
Yeah. And so there is a place for these paints. It is absolutely for artists, right? People who fancy themselves artists. It's not going to be necessarily the most convenient product for a run-of-the-mill miniature enthusiast who is looking for the things I mentioned. Like this could sound overwhelming to them. There's more moving parts, not less. But if you're looking for more, right, you want more functionality, like potentially out of the product. They are now essentially breaking into the real big boy art space. So
Yeah.
I'm excited, like, because I actually do a lot of painting, like not just miniatures.
Which is pretty exciting to see
So
them.
they look really good. I got a box delivered today. I'm gonna break them out and you know see what's up, because I use Monument Hobbies paints for a lot of my traditional art stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're that good, but
You
I
have a
like a
good
big ass
product,
tube
man.
of them sometimes.
Yeah,
Like Haspel knows he's been garage kitting and doing real ass shit for years. Like a big ass tube of your favorite color would be sick, right?
would be and might be extremely useful in the near future.
Right. And coming out like hella creamy and pigmented means like to certain projects you got better coverage than you're used to, you got better
Mm-hmm.
stick than you're used to. You know what I mean? You're doing some big shit, and you want it to be Monument Hobbies dark neutral gray and warm gray. Like these are the two colors that are your go tos. Now
Yeah.
you might be able to have that in the future for some big
Yep.
terrain project.
Yeah, absolutely.
So exciting to hear the innovations continue to unroll to be unveiled for Monument Hobbies.
Yeah, and I think that's really cool to see. That I mean, we are spoiled as hobbyists for
Oh yeah,
both
we're,
all
we're
sorts of game aids and also
we are an
paint
entitled group of
these days.
individuals, no doubt.
We sure are these days. We sure are, and good on us. We're worth it. Um, I want to talk about RTLW put out previews for what they call a Wolf Lord, which it would make a great Lima Russ model. And there's a Cyber Wolf slash chaos or not Wolfen slash chaos kind of version looking of it, and they've got like some cool looking like blade guard versions of just Space Wolf Primaris basically. Um, which are really cool. We don't know the pricing and stuff on it yet. I don't think they've revealed that yet, but all the art and all the renders look really dope. So if that's your thing that you're looking for, I'm sure it's going to be super affordable and really good quality, of course, always from them.
Artel, yeah. Artel single handedly the reason why Forge was garbage. He's like
I
he's
mean,
like my example of like
yeah,
a boutique resin like producer, like providing like clean luxury, like out of box experiences, like how I used to feel when I used to get Forge World back in the day. But like his technology has continued to advance where Forge World hasn't. Like he's the guy. Like I'm like, every time I get an Artel Mini, I'm like, this is so good. This is preposterous.
yeah, it's true. It's true. So definitely check that out because 'tis the season, so to speak. Let's see what else. Also for Space Wolves, if you missed it, it looks like 14 different units were legends out of the book. Unfortunately, now some of them are understandable. Like,
but they did not legend Bjorn.
they did not, which was really dope. And obviously, Logan on Sled, that was always a mixed opinion model, which I get.
I'm sad.
Yeah, I mean he's still cool. Like,
I mean, I've never played with it. I will confess that. I have
yeah.
one. I built it. It's painted. It's never seen the table.
No, it's preposterous. Like, it's...
Absolutely preposterous. But yeah, I mean, it's sad to see this stuff going, and like Haspel said earlier, hey, you can't play with your toys. Like, oh, okay, interesting. And that brings us to the Horse Heresy box preview. The box nobody saw coming, not once. We totally didn't start talking about it last summer when we realized we were a year away from a new edition and starter set. So Saturnine, I think they're great looking models personally. What do you guys think?
Yeah, they're great. Yeah, they look tight as hell. But that's not GW's problem. Like they make the best models in the world, man.
I think waiting, and I still have, I actually have them right here. Check this out.
For everyone driving to
I think I showed these before, but if you're not watching live, I've got the Saturnine model here on 25mm base.
The OG.
He's adorably small. Adorably. The new ones are on 50s.
Yeah, they're like obliterators.
This guy is gonna look like a Titanicus model next to the new plastics, right? But I mean these are, this waiting that long to get a newer version of that is awesome. And I will probably get a squad and put them together. But the thing I'm worried about, and everything else in that box looks great, like the autocannon platform, the Centurion, the Mark II stuff, the disintegrated weapons. I mean, I don't have a Horse Heresy army currently, but I'm just worried, and I think they could do better if they were allowed in 40k, and I think that's a huge missed opportunity personally for them.
Yeah, they should be putting out data slates just to double down on money, bro. That just doesn't make sense.
And I think, and it's a sad place to be too, because they can't exactly do it now. Because if they do this, then people are going to be like, why did you just Legends all my shit from 3 years ago? Like, why can't I play with Contemptors? Why can't I play with the Kratos? Why can't I play with this and that and everything in the Leviathan? The Leviathan was
It's weird because it's almost like they feel like I feel like on one page they're like, letting people, arbitrarily swap between systems is actually, we can make more money if we stop them from doing that, right? They'd have to buy into either systems or both. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, put it in a spreadsheet. And then, like, in reality, in practice, we're like, nah, dude, I'm just not buying those. I'm not going to play 2 game systems. You know what I mean? Like, I play my game system. These people play theirs. And if there's overlap, free money.
Mm-hmm.
Like.
Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, you can obviously count as these as something, right? For sure. Like, I don't know what, but I think they're dope enough that there is crossover potential. I just don't know exactly what it is. And it's just, I feel like it's a missed opportunity because this box, like, everything in it looks dope. And I just, like, I want to buy it and just have it so I could maybe put it in an army, but I'm not gonna because I know I don't play Heresy, so there's no point to me even buying it. And if I'm thinking like that, there's got to be other people out there thinking like that, in my opinion.
Normal. Yeah. That's how it goes.
So I don't know. Those are my thoughts on it. So overall, lots of previews, lots of cool stuff. This week is a Sigmar pre-release week for the 4 spearheads that were previewed at was it Adepticon or it might have been an LVO? I think it might have been LVO. And the General's Handbook. Interesting note about the General's Handbook, which is basically, like the I guess we don't really have a comparison of 40k. I mean, we have the card pack, and then you can buy the objective markers. But for Sigmar, it still comes in a book format, but now it's in a box set with objective marker templates that are part of the deal, right? So that's just an interesting thing to keep in mind, and that's $60, and all that goes on pre-order this Saturday. So on the horizon, if you want my opinion on it, I think next week the pre-orders won't be for the Horus Heresy box. I feel like the pre-orders are going to be for the Chaos stuff, the single units. Um, from the World Eaters in the Death Guard box, paired with some other relevant things. We might even see something from the Thousand Suns. And then I think the following week will be the big drop for Horus Heresy to hit towards the end of June to actually street date, right? But there's still a lot of stuff out there. If you look at the roadmap, there's a shocking amount of stuff still out there that we kind of don't know when it's going to happen. So all bets are off, but definitely look for June to be a very exciting month for a number of games out there in the tabletop miniature space for sure.
Cool. Yeah, I could see myself buying the rule book for the new Horus Heresy, but I don't think I'm going to buy any actual minis for it.
It's a very Mike Caskell approach.
I really like the gameplay of Horus Heresy. I really, really like it. But you know, I played only about maybe 8 games. But they were all like just really epic and fun. It felt different than 40K. It definitely felt different than 40K. It felt grander. You know what I mean?
No, for sure.
So I really enjoyed that gameplay. But yeah, I just don't have time to paint new stuff right now. So I don't think I'll buy any minis, but I probably will pick up the rule book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Solid choice.
I fantasize about all the minis I'm going to paint one day that I won't. You know what I mean? It's a big part of the hobby for me now. Like, that's what the fantasy part of the hobby is for me now. But, like, let's talk about real quick before we take a quick commercial break, because we are running 10 minutes behind, so we're going to go a little over. LVO double turn year. Everyone listening at home, that means we have a second Long War doubles for LVO. It means a Vegas-based Long Wars double in October. Tickets are live right now on LVO's website, so just LVO 40k. Get queued up, because that's October, man. It's a different date. It's not January right after Christmas and you're broke. That's the good time. You know what I mean? So hopefully we see you guys out there again for the double turn year. Also, I'll be at Challenger Cup in September. That's the 8-man teams event that Green Banner is doing. They're sold out on 8-man teams slots. They're straight sold out. But I am running painting classes there. So for years, people are like, yo, when am I going to get in on this IRL painting scene? I've tried to make it work a couple times. It's always failed. Hopefully this is the time. So that's in Utah, Salt Lake City, September. You go check out Challenger Cup 40K. Sign up. I put a couple posts on Facebook. Let's fill out my first IRL painting classes. Some airbrushing, some hobby seminars, etc. Let's take a quick commercial break. And let's talk for a few minutes on this subject we've already been talking about, the community and culture.
Mm-hmm.
And we're back. Let's go over our interesting, totally not AI generated prompt for the evening.
Proofed by a real actual human.
Yeah, not AI edited. Like real editor. Community and culture. Warhammer 40k. We've got combined experience level of roughly 3,000 years in this podcast right now. I think that's about accurate. Like we got between, Rob's immortal ass and Mike, going back to Rogue Trader.
Yeah.
So, Mike, how's the culture of Warhammer 40k community evolved over the past decade for you, or just through your observations?
I don't know. I think it's gotten a lot better, but it's also gotten a lot worse. So there's definitely a contingent in the community that is very toxic. But I feel like people people treat that like that's a 40k problem, and I think that's a gamer problem. That's not a 40k problem, because there are people just as toxic in fandom, in general, across the board. You find Star Trek fans, there's people that are just as toxic. You know, there's stuff going like that going all the way back, Worldcon, all that kind of stuff. There's so you're always going to have your people that are jerks. But I think overall the community's gotten a lot better. It's just because it was so insular before. It was almost there were a lot more gatekeepers before. Like they would, you know, if you want to join and come in, there were a lot more people that were like, "Hey, this is our nerdy little corner, and we don't want you in it," or you're going to have to work to get in it, right? And I think over the years, it has changed to, "This is our nerdy little corner." And oh, you like this? Well, come on in, buddy. The water's warm.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to throw you right in the deep end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sink or swim.
No, you're
Yeah.
right. There's like based on just like what I see as community has evolved, right? Even what the word community means has evolved. And now you're seeing like Instagram reels, you're seeing TikTok shorts, you're seeing everything. You're seeing what like the evolution of this like exposure. And you are seeing a lot of what you just said, where it's like, yeah, you didn't know about this nonsense. Let's go.
Let's go. Like I will tell you about this, right? And it's like I also think it's kind of cool that in pop culture in general, people know about 40k.
Oh yeah,
They might
it's
not
huge.
know exactly what it is, but if you say heresy or the Emperor protects, people know what that means. Like in
That's true.
general,
Or blood for the
in
blood
pop,
god, especially. I hear that a lot.
blood for the blood
Yo,
god. People know
as
what that means.
as a segue, I was at an Asian restaurant in town here. In town, there's 25,000 people in town, and the bartender wasn't the normal one. It was a guy that waits tables that I didn't really interact with in the past. He had a short sleeve shirt on, and I saw he had the bottom of the Chaos Star, and I was like, what do you got there? And he's like, oh, it's just a tattoo, and I was like, was that Chaos? What's up? And he's like, he like shows it to me, and it was Black Legion, and I was like, oh, 40k, huh? And he's like, yeah, and he started talking to me about
Oh
it.
yeah, the number of times that my tattoo has got acknowledged for being a Warhammer tattoo on my right arm in the last 10 years has quadrupled in the first 10 years.
Yep.
Right? Like just by using the tattoo analogy, I'm like, yeah, it actually that makes sense. Like I could just use that as a observational data.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, it's gone up like 400%.
Oh, yeah.
Like exposure to the market. But let's that was, and thank you for that commentary, Haspel. I want to take it a step further for both of you guys on this one. What makes tabletop wargaming communities, now that you've kind of set the stage, unique compared to other gaming communities, like video games or other like tabletop RPGs?
For me, what I would say that sets it apart is the mentorship. Now, that does exist in tabletop RPGs, right? Of where
Mm-hmm.
they take somebody aside and they go, "Hey, here's how you DM." You know what I mean? Here's how to be a good DM, stuff like that. A lot of people have to be taught that. But what I like about the mentorship in tabletop wargaming, not just 40k, just the whole thing, is like I remember when going to a store and you're seeing something and somebody comes up, and in my case it was a guy who did historical dioramas, right? And he talked to me about dry brushing.
The
And I was
magical
just
moment when you
like
saw
what
magic.
yeah, I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, oh, let me show you. And he dry brushed, and I went, it was literally like an unlock. It was like, oh,
That's so easy.
holy cow, dude.
Straight up
That's,
magic.
and then it makes you want to spread the news, right? Like, or remember when, what was the name of that wash? The very first.
Devil in Mud.
No. But
Bad
prior
Lab
to that,
Like the
no,
inks.
it was before. It was
Flesh wash?
before. Huh?
Flesh wash? Like
No,
ink
it was
inks?
before that. It was like in between inks, and it wasn't a GW product. It was some Wonder Wash.
Wonder
Oh,
Wash.
Wonder Wash.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. The War
Right?
Store sold that.
Yeah.
The Wonder
We
Wash
had
came
one
out.
little display at Gamers Haven of those.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and Recoil breaking out the chestnut ink. That was
Chestnut ink was.
my. Whew, I
I
love
used
that stuff.
my shit was the chestnut ink and the flesh wash back in the day. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, I used to use that all the time. But it's like when you discovered that, it was funny because for about a month you're like, I'm not telling anybody about this. This is my new secret formula, right?
That's the gatekeeping that was pre-internet era, right? People had
You see
secrets
this?
and they kept their secrets.
Yeah, they kept.
Is that
those
chestnut ink?
secrets.
Oh my god.
Chestnut ink, dog.
Wow, that's awesome.
I still got a bottle.
I'll trade you like a carton of smokes in the apocalypse for that.
Yeah, but it's like,
Oh, this one's dried out. Oh, so sad.
yeah, it's like it's pretty cool, and what I like about, I don't know, I just like that there's a community that can exist outside of all the BS, and I think what that's an actual danger,
Yeah.
and I don't want to get political, but that is an actual danger, and that's why I say that the IP is, and GW should guard it strongly,
Oh, I
right?
think they do.
Because we've seen, and people have heard me get on my soapbox before. We have seen a lot of traditional IPs that were money making machines that were impossible to screw up, get screwed up and die. And we've seen it multiple times now in the last, I would say, 5 to 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it can definitely get destroyed. So it's like, guard your stuff. I don't think you need to, I don't think it needs to be a rigid story that cannot evolve. In fact, I think it has to evolve, but
Mm-hmm.
do not cater to the flavor of the moment. Would be my advice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's an interesting thing to see now with a lot of businesses along with educational institutions kind of rolling back the DEI initiatives.
mhm.
Um, to see, because obviously Games Workshop made their big statement where Warhammer's for
For
everybody and
everybody, and
everything,
it is for everybody. I don't like, those
and
things are not mutually exclusive.
right, and they definitely tried to be more inclusive, and I think some of the decisions were a little polarizing for folks. I could definitely see that. I see both sides of it, and I was just at a game store recently where um, a, a couple came in together that were married and they're expecting their next child, and the lady was like, "Oh yeah, we're getting ready to new addition and we're setting up the house, and so we're going to be locked down for a while, not locked down, but not really going out and just handling
Right,
business
right.
with the new addition." And she's like, and he wanted to get into to Warhammer and start this so he'd have something to do in between. And um the 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 game store clerk was like, "Hey, first of all, he was very good. He was like, you want to get something that you feel the models. Don't listen to meta and all that. You got to feel the models, because otherwise you'll come back here and you've already put the stuff together. There's nothing I can do. You got to feel the models. You got to be into it." But the second thing, he was like, he was kind of explaining the different factions and like how they pertain, and he was talking about like sisters and kind of like their role in things, and obviously women they like to hear that. I feel like a
Yeah.
lot, but it's been my
Everyone wants their protagonist. They can when they
right.
project themselves into the story, right? So that's why you typically have multiple characters. Who do you relate to, and like how do you insert
Right.
yourself in the story? And very obvious one is like lady, right? Like this is my
Yeah,
faction. Like
but it's actually been my experience to that most ladies that play generally play something wild like Tyranids
Yeah,
or Dark
or
Eldar
orcs.
or orcs, right? I
Yeah,
I cannot, or Tau. I have never seen a lady play anything Imperial ever
I know
in
3
all my
women that
years.
play, and they play orcs.
Yeah, so like it's really interesting to see the interactions and then see the interactions on the tabletop.
Now, yeah,
But
granted, Liz plays Space Marines, but you know,
oh,
Liz is Liz.
fair.
She plays a
Um,
lot of different armies, so
But I think that serves to illustrate like by manipulating, like you would expect it to go away, but it doesn't, because just as many
Right.
people who project themselves into the character also play a role-playing game to play a different role,
to play
Right.
somebody different.
to play to literally RP, right? And so that's kind of like my position. Is like I'm a good guy in real life, bro. Like, but I mostly play bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm role playing. Like, I don't see myself as a chaos lord who skins people and shit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm role playing, bro. So like, I feel like there's just as many, and so like, trying to cater to either one of those groups is typically
Well,
going to take you down the wrong path.
yeah.
Here's what I think. In general, this is not just directed towards. I think when you try to cater to an audience, you're effing up. Like
Mm,
within a limit, right? So it's like if you're going to write sci-fi, obviously you're catering to the sci-fi people, right? If you start throwing in a bunch of fantasy elements, it's not going to really work. But that's not really what I mean. What I mean is if you're like, hey, we don't think there's enough representation in this group or whatever. So we're going to heavily influence things so that this underrepresented group is now the main deal.
mm,
Artificially inflating diversity, for lack of a better word, never works out. It doesn't work out. You wind up pissing everyone off. So it's like you have to. There's a line that you have to walk to go. Hey, look, we would like this artwork to represent more people or whatever, right? So it's just like, yeah, well, just it's 40,000 years in the future. All that matters is that you're human and not a Xenos. That's
Yeah.
all that matters.
At some point, you have to make people. It's like
mm.
with all the Marvel movies. I was like, man, at some
Huh.
point, you just gotta expect a person to read a comic book, bro. Like, you can't just
Yeah.
spell it. You can't just.
Well, a guy in the chat, Specs, goes, so what you're saying is female custodies.
Yeah.
And here's
Ah,
here's
That
what
is, I mean,
I'm
that
gonna
is
say.
a lot of what we are talking about in the most recent,
I
the
think
most
that's a,
recent culture shock that occurred that created a
And
controversy is absolutely that.
yep.
I have an opinion on why that caused a culture shock, right? And it wasn't that they introduced female custodies. I don't think that was the problem.
It was the
I
canon. It was
think
the line.
it was the
It
line
was the
that,
line.
oh, they've always existed.
Yeah,
And
they
I'm
did hit
like,
us. They hit us with the fucking canon line from
well,
Rick and Morty, right?
and here's the thing, right? Is canon, yeah, it's fantasy, it's science fiction. You can change canon, but you can't change it willy-nilly. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. Is because when people get into an IP, they get into the canon, they devote a ton of time learning all this stuff. When you change it willy-nilly, right? You just go, "Nah, that's always happened," or whatever, right? You're telling that person that all the time and effort that they've invested into your IP doesn't matter. That's the message that you're sending.
And
So,
I think a lot of people felt that way.
Yeah, it was
yeah,
a rough line. It's like the Rick and Morty episode where they meet Brett Kahn,
retcon, yeah.
and he's like,
Retcon.
"But your name could have been Rhett Kahn. My name is and always has been Rhett Kahn."
Right.
It's like, like literally, like that's they hit him. They literally like did it right there. Did a whole episode on that, right? So like that's the line that irritated people, right? But that is
Yeah.
the most
So
recent.
it's just like don't do stuff like that. If you came
Hmm.
out with a reason, and you could even say, no, there's always been female custodies, and we'll tell you why, right? It's the not telling us why. It's the hey, this doesn't all the stuff that you've learned, all the novels that you've read, all the stuff that you've invested doesn't matter anymore. We've seen it happen to Star Wars. We've seen it happen to Marvel. We've seen it happen to Doctor Who. We've seen it happen to, I can name another 10 Mass Effect,
Ghostbusters.
uh, 10, 15 IPs that were not, they weren't, they're definitely not what they are, what they used to be. And it doesn't have anything to do with DEI. It has everything to do
Real time Game of Thrones.
with not respecting the story.
Mm-hmm.
It has everything to do with that.
You gotta respect the source material.
And
Mm-hmm.
if you don't respect the story, how do you expect the fans to respect the story? And then once the fans give up, apathy, right? Once the fans become apathetic, apathy is where IPs die. And I know recently they put Andor on. This is just a personal anecdote. They put Andor on Hulu. Now I've heard nothing but good things about Andor. So season 1 was on Hulu. I was like, you know what? I've heard nothing but good things about Andor, and I'm gonna watch it. Right? I'm gonna sit down and watch this. And a lot of people were asking me, "What's your opinion on Andor?" And the problem is that I watched maybe 20 minutes of it, and then I just couldn't be bothered anymore because I don't give a shit about Star Wars anymore. I just don't.
Oh, dang.
So I was just like, "Hey, this looks good.
Fair.
The production values are awesome. It looks good." And then work gets busy, stuff happens, and I'm just not making time for it anymore because it just didn't matter.
Yeah.
And I would hate to see that happen to, like, I honestly think 40k is one of those last IPs that that has the potential to, and you know, to GW terms, just print money. You know what I mean? Just print money.
Yep.
And it could be outstanding. And it's like, I don't want to see it go the way these other IPs have gone.
Yeah, GW seems like they evolve over the years. They do seem to surf trends, but also they seem to guard simultaneously. Like, so, you know, well, like the future is, I think, a little bit more safe for them based on just their behaviors over the last few years. I feel like everyone makes a couple of snafus in reaction to certain things, like maybe some knee-jerk reactions. But luckily, it hasn't really gutted anything. I know so many Custodes players who like, okay, like, you know what I mean? So it does. It's
No, in the grand scheme of things, it didn't matter.
no,
But
they didn't write it. I think GW understood that like that was a heavy-handed tweet. You know what I mean? It wasn't a
Right.
heavy-handed decision. The decision's fine. Nobody's really afraid of fiction.
Nobody really cares.
Yeah, like I'm not afraid of fake shit happening to my fake shit. It's the way you treated people.
Optics.
Like is what is
It's
concerning.
the way that, hey, this is make believe and it doesn't matter anyway. So there have always been there, right?
Yeah.
And it was just like,
it's like, well, it matters to me, and like that's kind of mean that you said that to me. Like it makes me feel
you're
like you don't
basically
respect
telling
me.
me it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's what you're telling me. And so when you start telling me it doesn't matter, the danger is that one of these days I might believe you.
Facts. That's
and
a good
then
one.
my money goes somewhere else.
Yeah, that's a great way to end it right there. So we talked about like how it's changed in the last 10 years, what we've observed, and what's currently culturally a big hot topic. And like you said, Mike, like eventually we'll believe you. So like it's like it's a big warning. I did get to hear from Wyatt during the podcast. He's been sick and he did miss his time and he's been coughing. He's like, I can make it. I'll just be muted most of the time. I was like, nah, it's cool, man. Like just take a nap, bro.
Yeah.
Rest up,
brother. So he's okay. Everything's fine. But we went over. We filled our time.
Yeah, we did plenty.
We did plenty. I'll insert commercial breaks where I can. And Mike, you want to take us out on a quote?
You go in, you find the president, bring him out in 24 hours, and you're a free man.